Today's subject, slavery.
Hello everybody, my name is Mark. My name is Juice World, and I've come to bring you joy through my own suffering in this little playthrough of the Summoner class in Terraria, where we partake in heinous acts of forcing little critters to work in our secret underground sweatshop as they secretly smuggle fentanyl across the underworld border as a side hustle. Let me calm my inner Walter White for a sec and move on with the video. So first and foremost comes the customization of our victim for this playthrough. We decide to hit the random button until we land on an old man looking like he's about to enjoy his retirement. Boy oh boy, wait till he finds out what he signed up for. Now, for whatever reason, I decided I should go with the name Whipped Cream? Yeah, don't even ask, I have no idea myself. Next up was choosing a world that we were going to colonize and mistreat its inhabitants for our own benefit. We decide to name this lovely land Forced Labor, as we were going to do exactly that, forcing wildlife into serving us and making them do our bidding. I obviously chose Expert because I ain't no bitch. Now, I'm not saying anyone who plays on Classic is a bitch. Actually, never mind, that's exactly what I am stating. The law officially requires you to choose Expert or higher in difficulty, as we want to experience maximum pain. Immediately after spawning in our world, we immediately have nothing going on in our heads other than deforestation, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, we are going to speedrun the Industrial Revolution and its consequences. We quickly gather resources to build ourselves shelter and/or prison cells for our poor civilians that will inevitably have to move in with us in the near future because of famine and drought that was caused by us going on a power trip and recreating the Lorax from scratch, to the point of singing "How bad can I be?" in our head as we rid the forest of its natural scenery. We then head off into the wild to explore our world and potentially get our hands on a juicy, succulent finch staff which spawns in living wood trees in the outer corners of the world. On our little trip, we realize that our bones are on 1% durability, and we are given a reality check when a floating eyeball stares us down so hard that we start to think we just looked in the general direction of a girl in the gym, causing us to die. So we go back in our tiny shack and cower in fear until the sun rises once more. The rules for this challenge were simple. I can only use the copper short sword as my primary weapon until I acquire a summoner weapon that includes a whip or a staff. Whichever one I get first, the challenge will begin from there. After greeting the sun with a morning wood, we head out to the left side of the world in hopes of finding some bootylicious loot. And to our surprise, we do manage to find a desert pyramid chilling on the surface. I decide to invade the Pyramid of Giza and take the historical monuments back home and put it on display. A few blocks down, we managed to find a chest. Now, I didn't have my hopes up because I knew that desert temple loot is usually mediocre at best. Keyword usually. And to my absolute surprise, the chest contained a motherfucking flying carpet, which we gladly take as it is incredibly useful against bosses and is a great substitute for wings during pre-hard mode. And on that note, we leave the pyramid to head to the living wood trees in hopes of finding a means to fight back. Around the same time that I was exploring, I also was making sure to mercilessly kill every living, breathing creature I stumbled upon. Because once the bestiary, or the bestiary, how do you say this thing, has been filled to 10%, the Dami Mommy Furry GF, aka the Zoologist, will appear. Why am I simping over a 2D pixelated furry woman, you may ask? Why, that is because she can whip me. I mean, sell me my first whip so I can finally start enslaving my minions. Fast forward a few hours of endless suffering, and I did not manage to find a single finch staff in the living wood trees. Wow! How exciting! After seeing that life did not assist us on our quest, we decide to give up on life completely and commit breathant, which might confuse some of you folks as to why I'm depressed now and repeatedly jumping off a building several times. Well, it's because if you hang around a bunch of tombstones for a while, a wild flower might pop up near them. And once you pick up that flower, you can now summon Carrie from Abigail, which will essentially be our first summon weapon of the playthrough. My next goal was to get a whip, so I headed to the underground desert to find some fine specimen to add to my animal dictionary. And after dying, and ultimately dying, I thought I was being slick and headed into the jungle to gather even more samples. As it turns out, the Jungolians weren't too happy with my presence and folded me like an origami. After goofing around for half an hour, I managed to collect enough data for Pt.1 to move in. After spending our hard-earned cash money moolah on a bootleg Richter Belmont whip from Wish, we were fully in action and ready to take on our first boss, the Eye of Kachow. Or at least I thought I was ready, because I soon realized that getting a basic ass whip will not quench my thirst, and thus I ended up going for a dig in the underground jungle to farm for components to make a Snapthorn, which upgraded our base damage from a measly 14 to a whopping, mind-boggling 18 whole damage. After spending a questionable amount of time, I was finally able to gather enough materials to craft the Snapthorn. Oh my god, are you f***ing serious? After going through the 5 stages of grief and realizing that we will in fact not be seeing the government tax collector known as the Goblin Tinkerer until after we beat Old Mate Big Eye, we decide to take full advantage of Terraria 1.4.4's most balanced addition to the game, Shimmer. This pool of forbidden grape juice that looks like something straight out of the chemicals under the sink is such a strong solvent that turns you into your dad. Invisible. Please laugh. While thinking I had hit rock bottom, the universe once again steps in to prove me goddamn wrong, because on the way to find the Shimmer biome, I found an unexplored section of the Living Wood tree which contained, you guessed it, the Finch Staff. At this point, I was pointing a shotgun to my face, Ronnie McNutt style, ready to end it all. But then I recalled a quote from my favorite streamer, Nick30, and that made me simply never back down and never give up. So, with our will to live diminished, we head into the frozen underground and violently shake a Flinx to death and extract its fur, and return home and make ourselves a nice little coat, which increases our minion slots by 1, essentially doubling our manpower. I then build an arena after avoiding it like the plague for so long, so I wouldn't get an atomic wedgie when fighting the Eye of Kachow. Next up, I went to the underground ice biome once again to get some more Flinx fur for the Flinx staff. So I headed towards the underground to get some extra health and platinum for the Flinx staff so the eye wouldn't tickle me to death. Kinky. After accumulating a total of 200 HP, I went to the local Crimson Altar and purchased an eyeball off the black market illegally. Headed back to the arena, put down torches and a campfire, got more juiced up than Liver King himself, and started the fight. After absolutely shitting on this poor lad, we talk trash to him and teabag on him. Then we insult his mother, yell racial slurs at his face, and simply carry on. For whatever reason, my dumbass forgot to reforge the Snapthorn, but that doesn't really matter. Also, did I mention this is my first time playing Summoner? I jumped into this playthrough basically knowing absolute fuck all about Summoner, as I vividly remember it being dog shit back in 1.3, to the point of it having like 2 weapons maximum, so I avoided it like child support. Little did I know that this would soon become my favorite class of all time during this playthrough. I strongly recommend any people watching this to give it a try if you haven't done so previously. Anyways, let's hop on crack then back on track. So, after neglecting my responsibilities for so long, this time I headed to the ocean on the jungle side to find Shimmer, and on the way there I fell for the oldest trick in the book. Twice. Anyway, after digging down from under the Living Wood tree for a while, I finally found a pool of bleach that I was going to inevitably jump in. After that trip, I recrafted my Snapthorn and it is not crippled anymore. Yippee! With our egos inflated bigger than ever before, we we decide it's a good time to give Almighty King Snot a visit and knock the oobleck right out of him. With him being a grounded enemy and all, you bet your ass we absolutely rocked his shit and gave him the Ass Blaster 3000. Just see for yourself. With King Slime defeated, we once again receive a confidence boost and muster up enough courage to finally ask out our crush at prom. So without hesitation, we delve into the Crimson, set up an arena made by a preschooler, hop on some Trenbolone, and fight the Brain. Holy shit, Summoner is broken. I mean, seriously, he couldn't even touch me with the illusion phase. My minions went straight to the real body and all I had to do was stand still and aim at my minions. Though they did patch the boss icon method, which I guess sucks a little bit. After taking so many back-to-back W's, we started to have a positive outlook on life. Our future was looking bright. I am certain that things will not go downhill from here sometime in the near future. So, with our self-esteem through the roof, we think we have what it takes to fight Mr. Fister himself, Big Boner Man Skeletron. So on that note, we head on to the dungeon, build a small shack barely able to fit a single person inside, and are now going to charge a single mother of 4, a modest 3,000 doll hairs a month. However, in the midst of our devious little money laundering scheme, guess who comes back to take a bite at us? King Slinky himself. He thought he was going to redeem himself after the ass whooping he received and all the humiliation he went through in front of all his friends. Lil bro think he's in his villain canon event arc, but we simply give him a reality check and whisper in quotes, "You are not that guy, pal, trust me," in his ears. And then proceed to clap his non-Newtonian cheeks with our non-Newtonian cock. After giving King Slime a double whammy wedgie and leaking the messages in his group chat, we sleep knowing that we spread misinformation online until night falls. Then we walk up to the Zaza dealer and ask him to hit us up with some of that fine Zaza. Little did we know that he was an undercover cop and Sans Undertale was ready and loaded to dunk on us. After that astronomically embarrassing defeat, we cry ourselves to sleep, knowing that we just lost everything in life. However, the next morning we remember the one thing we haven't lost yet, that is, our virginity, because we simply never lose. With that mentality in mind, we go to the underground jungle to get ourselves a nice staff of regrowth, then an axe of regrowth to assist us in brewing more anabolic steroids and all sorts of other performance-enhancing drugs. We then take notice of the terrible human being we are and decide to go to hell, literally. But on the way down to hell, or should I say, highway to hell, I'm sorry, a goblin army spawned in and hit us with the no-uh. This is horrendous news for us, because what this means now is that the little gremlin cuckboy, known as the Glizzy Gobbler Goblin Tinkerer, will move in, forcing us to actually pay our taxes instead of committing tax evasion like we always did. While fighting the army, we take full advantage of the snowball launcher turret that we found in the ice biome beforehand, and rain snowy hell upon anyone who comes within close proximity as we yell, "It's a parade inside my city," until we collapse from the lack of oxygen. And just like that, the goblin army was defeated without breaking a sweat. We pretend like we didn't just commit mass genocide and complete the elevator. Around this time, we realize that our armor sucks absolute dog ass, and we have to upgrade to obsidian armor if we wanted to have any slither of hope of defeating the wall of fresh. So, we craft ourselves a nice new pickaxe and get a hell forge, and craft the obsidian armor set, which greatly benefited our whip damage. After feeling hella stacked on God for real, and feeling like we achieved in quotes, level 5 Ohio Skibbity Gyat Riz. God, that hurts to say. We are feeling extra romantical and consider paying Queen Bee a visit, and on the way we find an anklet of the wind for our non-existent Hermes boots that we neglected to find for so long. I'm sure that won't come back to bite us in the ass in the future. After all the random shenanigans I was up to in the underground jungle, I stumble upon a beehive, crack it open like a walnut, build an average-sized arena, and duel the Queen Bee. And just like that, we now have access to stupendous amounts of Queen Bee honey bathwater. Without wasting any time and with an insatiable hunger for spilling blood, we rush to the dungeon to show Skeletron our Sigma Glow Up Patrick Batman edit and show him that we are in fact based and red-pilled. With Big Calcium Dude defeated, we now enter the quote-unquote fun part of the game, where we search the dungeon for a bewitching table for that sweet smegsy +1 minion slot, and an alchemy table for even more opioid production. I shit you not, I had to explore the whole f***ing dungeon in order to find that stupid table, and it didn't help that it was in the very bottom of the dungeon either. Great. Just amazing. Simply delightful. After Skeletron and exploring the dungeon, one would assume the next step in progression would be to get ready for the Wall of Fresh. One slight issue, that is for normal, mentally sane human beings, and I, for one, am not mentally sane. I am crazy. Crazy? I was crazy. Whoa. That being said, I instead decided to fight the boss that no one ever in their lives cares about. Of course, I am talking about Deer Clops. Dear God, who the f even fights this guy? He's like that one guy in the friend group that no one likes but everyone has to tolerate because they're friends with the group leader. To this day, I do not understand what was going on through my head, that I thought to myself fighting this boss was going to be a good idea. I guess simply put, I just wanted to be different and quirky.
Like a cut, G.
Yep. Never again. After that traumatizing experience, we once again sit down and ponder for a solid minute about the gear we're currently using, and come to a shocking conclusion that the Flink Staff is simply not going to cut it from now on. So, we go to the underworld once again and take Satan's natural resources, known as Hellstone. Borrowed so much natural resources, in fact, that they might even start calling me America. With our newly acquired Hell Oil, we head back to the surface and craft the Imp Staff, which is a huge jump from the Flink Staff because these little dubious fellas shoot projectiles instead of dealing contact damage, which is far more effective against the Wall of Fresh. We also craft the Spinal Tap, which, lo and behold, oh my gosh diddly darn, if my eyes ain't deceiving me, that is a mother banging legendary, which puts us at a staggering 40 damage. We will happily take that as every bit of damage counts. Let's go back to hell where we belong and start constructing a giant fucking platform to carry out Operation Joestar technique on. After building an unreasonably long platform, we decide fuck it and summon the wall with no potions and absolutely zero preparation. What is wrong with me? Still, I got extremely close, meaning with minimal intake of creatine and G Fuel, I would be able to take down the wall easily. Having learned this lesson, we head back to extend our elongated platform, loot a few shadow chests, and find a life force potion miraculously chilling in one of them. Good gosh, I sure do hope I don't forget about this potion for the rest of the playthrough. After finishing the platform, we head back to the surface yet again and realize that our rent is due, so we pop a few eyeballs and pay for the next 6 months in advance. We also interact with the witch doctor, resulting in us finding out about the pygmy necklace, an accessory that gives an extra minion slot. So, you bet your ass, this bad boy is gonna stay with us for the rest of the playthrough. I then reforge a few of my items and soon realize that the Goblin Tinkerer had sucked up all the money I had. We then remember that to beat the Wall of Flesh, you actually have to become Usain Bolt. So with that in mind, we go exploring some caves and find ourselves a nice pair of Hermes boots relatively fast. Now that we were locked and loaded, we were ready to take on the Wall of Flesh. So we challenged the wall to a Fortnite 1v1 build battle.